Good morning, Judith.
Good morning, Sonya.
Welcome to the Coach's Cup. I am Sonya Green from Sonya Green Coaching.
And I'm Coach Judith Fender.
Yes, you are.
For a short intro, there we go. I'll save the credentials for the end.
Yes, you are. All right. And last week, we talked about inner child work. And today we went longer than I realized on that. So how's that? But if you haven't listened to it, I think going back and listening to last week's episode, it's going to work really well with this week's, because one place we didn't quite get to was how this topic works into inner child work. And this week's topic is forgiveness.
Yes, I was actually thinking of the word, how this dovetails into inner child work. Is this, you want me to go?
Yeah.
So I was coaching a client of mine last week, and she had recently lost an in-law and was working through the process and came upon a point in her life where she realized that she had been carrying some resentment. She remembered the exact point, a very specific situation. And what I think is, and I was questioning with you, Sonya, before, when we were doing a little pre-gaming, is how important it is to know that when you have the awareness and when you're working with your coach is exactly this concept of when you are doing the work and you get to that place, and how now the process of forgiveness, first and only, right? I'm going to say it. The forgiveness is for yourself. It's for you. It's never for the perpetrator. And that, I'm going to let you roll with it from here.
I think it's connection to that inner child work is so many times we're holding on to a pain point, like your client was, like we've worked with probably so many people. They're holding on to this pain point and not even realizing the power they have if they can let it go. And that is the forgiveness.
And the power of that moment too is that she realized the only person she was hurting this entire time was herself.
Yes.
No one else. And she could see the impact that it had on the relationship with the deceased in-law and how it impacted her.
Yeah.
Which is part of this whole generational, why I don't want to jump, but why you want to practice forgiveness is to get out of the cycle and make generational changes.
Yeah. So I think that's the point that we want to lead with. If you have some wrong that someone has done to you, that you feel like you've been carrying around this anger, this resentment toward another person, this episode you can do the work. You can work through the act of forgiveness, and never, ever share that with the other person. This episode is 100% about you and how forgiveness is for you, and how it will free you and allow you to grow. Because ultimately, as long as you're just like with the inner child, as long as you're holding on to those pain points, I'll call them, just to be kind of general, then you cannot grow. You can't evolve.
This quote from Bishop T.D. Jakes, where he has a book called Let It Go, and he's talking about unforgiveness, unchecked, becomes a cancer in our soul, and it affects every relationship. I mean, and that right there is exactly what we're talking about, and why the value in doing this work, this practice of forgiveness being for yourself, because you are showing up in your life, trying to live your best life, right? And so resentment is that feeling, that is anger that has been carried around for a very long time. And like the quotes, like, it's living, trying to live your life, drive down the road, looking in the rear view mirror.
Yes.
You are holding on to the wheel, but you're still looking to the past for direction on how to get forward.
Yeah.
That's the stalling of your energy.
Yes. And I think people, we don't realize sometimes the impact that hanging on to that resentment and anger has, because you think it's just between you and the perpetrator. But really, when you're hanging on to that, it affects all of your other relationships because your guard is up. You're, well, that person did this to me, so I can't fully be present with other people because I might get hurt again.
Right. You're not living your authentic self, your best self, living in your full glory. I can't believe I'm saying that word, but that's just coming out of my mouth. You are showing up from a pain point, and you're withholding parts of yourself that that you were brought here, that your purpose on life is to open up and grow. And by limiting yourself, I heard this one story. It's talking about like resentment is like someone drove up in the middle of the night and dumped garbage all over your front porch. But then if you deal with your resentment by opening up your front door every day and just stepping over the garbage and just cussing every breath and kicking it around versus dealing with it, that's what you're doing every day, that you don't forgive yourself for things that have happened to you or for you, depending on how you want to look at this. Some big smile on my face, that you are literally starting your day from a place of negativity, and carrying that. If you have 100 units of energy and you don't clear up your energy and you're leaving all that shit on your front porch and you just kicking it around every day. I mean, let's clean up our yard, people. Let's clean it up.
Exactly. Yeah. And I love how, well, I'm going to get to that. I'm going to hang on to that for just,
we both are excited about this podcast, y'all.
We have so much to say.
I really enjoyed this topic a lot.
Yeah. Because I don't think people really count the cost of what not forgiving means in their lives, the price that they ultimately pay for hanging on to pain. And and the futility of it all. We hang on to it. I don't even know why. I mean, I can.
It's if we go into that inner child work, right? It's because it's familiar.
Yes.
Right? It's not. I don't even want to call it a habit. It's because it's familiar. It's because maybe it's what we saw our parents do. Maybe we just don't know what to do with it. Because that's why we're podcasting. That's why we want to help people live their best lives,
because they don't know how to process it. Maybe it's no better. It's no better reason than just having nothing else to do with it. So go ahead.
I just looked down at my paper and saw one of my notes. Forgiveness is selfish. It's for you.
It is
selfish for you.
Yeah. And so if you want to live that true, authentic life, then you have got to, number one, find those pain points, because sometimes we've buried them so deeply that we don't even know that they're the thing holding us back. And number two, once we find them, we have to exorcise them. We have to get them out and process that
took
pain.
Me a minute. Exor with an O.
Yeah, exorcise, not exercise.
Like, what is she talking about? Exercising.
Like an exorcism. I mean, that's what
it is. Okay, I got a story about that movie. I'm sorry.
No, it has nothing to do with that movie. That
was a terrible movie. You should not watch that movie when you're 8 years old.
Oh my goodness, I've never seen it.
Oh my
I'm
God.
50 and I'm not old enough to see
No, you're not. It was terrible. I can't even think of the name of the name. What was it? Was
The
called The
Exorcist.
Yeah. Oh God. It was terrible. And that little girl that played it, I did like her. But anywho, off track.
Anyway, so let's talk about the first thing I want to talk about is why you're not forgiving. Sometimes there are a couple of reasons that people generally give when they're hanging on to a wrong and they're very aware of it. So I want to talk about those and talk about why that's still, it's not a productive way to live your life. And the first reason that people get really attached to their resentment and anger is that they think it's what they're making forgiving mean. And they think that it means if they forgive that that's somehow weakness within them.
My mind just goes to some story. Like I was like, why don't people want to forgive? And as you said that, I thought, is it because somewhere we learn as kids, is that where the teacher says, or your mom says, go tell so-and-so you're sorry, that we have to show up with the teacher holding our hand or mama holding our hand and we have to say, I'm sorry. No.
Yeah,
No.
if I forgive you, then that means I'm being weak and I'm somehow saying that what you did, well, it's okay. It's okay. And it's not okay, right? And I do think we learn those lessons early on. Not that not that our parents want to teach us fake forgiveness.
No, not that at all.
At
But
all.
we get that vision, that feeling of that we are powerless over this, when in fact,
Yes.
we
It's
are empowering ourselves.
Yeah, nobody ever has to tell you that they're sorry in order for you to forgive.
Ever.
And if you do decide to forgive, it's not from a place of weakness. Excuse me. It's not from a place of weakness. It's from a place of, I'm ready to grow. I'm ready to become my best self. It's the ultimate strength.
It is creating your wholeness is what I would
Yeah.
offer. It is taking your energy back and channeling your energy in a direction that you choose, because you get this one life and you can be leaking out your energy into resentment, or you can be creating that energy and creating more light and love for yourself and moving forward.
Yeah, think about it like a flower garden. That's how I like to think about that when you're talking about the energy. And I think about, leaking a little fertilizer onto the thistles and the other weeds that are along the way, instead of saving it for the rose garden. And we're just leaking it out. And so we're feeding the weeds instead of feeding the flowers, the beauty that could be our lives. The other reason that people get attached to not forgiving, to holding on, is that sometimes they think if they absolve the other person, well, somebody has to be to blame here. So if I'm absolving them, then I must be the person in the wrong. And it's interesting how we try to moralize. I think you were going to say something.
I don't know. I'm just thinking about, I'm not sure what I think about that sentence. Again, this is where I hear the inner child, right? That whole blame thing and not wanting to accept responsibility for your part in this, because at some point you played a part in this process. You were somewhere, you had this. Now, and this is not to go without saying, there are true, like if you've been part of, a natural, I don't even know, like in a car accident, some random car accident, all things considered, there's levels of forgiveness that come there.
Or if you're a child, we're a child,
right,
and
a child. Yeah, we're kind of like ruling out that we're talking about like kind of adult relationship kind of forgiveness, like functioning adult things.
Although I will say this, regardless, it really doesn't matter what the circumstance is. Forgiveness follows those same rules. It is for you, and it is necessary in order for growth to occur. because it is a cancer. Resentment, that I love that TD Jakes quote that you said. It absolutely, it's a cancer emotionally. It can also turn into a physical cancer if we let it.
Right, because it doesn't just stay where it started. It grows and grows and grows.
Yes, it can cause cancers. It can cause pain syndromes. It can cause what am I trying to think of here? Immune.
You're talking about the physical self. I'm
yeah.
That it causes in relationships and how it separates, families and friendships.
Yeah, but it does both, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
If left to grow, I mean, that's what cancer is. It's cells that keep reproducing. They don't stop. And it spreads into all parts of your life if you let it.
Mm-hmm.
So it does. Go ahead.
I would say what I think is so interesting about this, and I wish I had, I need to say this though, that I was listening to a podcast talking about life diseases. There's a term out there right now that's floating around, but it's something life diseases, and it's it's the smoking, the overeating, and the drinking, and how all of those are really the root of our modern disease, because we're not consciously, we're also in the unconscious level living our life, buffering, if you will, and not coping and dealing on an adult level. And that's why this forgiveness, it's just another gift to offer yourself, to get off that emotional hook, to step off. It was the Eckhart Tolle talking about the being, stopping the karmic cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
That action, reaction mode, action, reaction.
Yeah.
And so choosing to be intentional, to forgive yourself for being human, right there. That, I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but it just, why this matters so much is living your best life, and how it shows up when we don't forgive. Mm-hmm. The cancer, and literally we're creating it by buffering. That's what I wanted to say, that life diseases, and this how it can show up, that poison. You think did I do the Nelson Mandela quote?
No, do that. I love that quote. I was thinking about that just now.
Oh, let me put my glasses on so I can find it here. It's resentment is like drinking poison, then hoping it will kill your enemies.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, it kills you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that concept that you were talking about with Eckhart Tolle, because if the idea of the karmic is seeing everyone on the same plane. We were talking earlier this morning about how the I is me, but the I is also you, because we're all human on this plane together, and we all have the potential, whatever that pain point is, we all have the potential to cause, that's not the way I want to say this, but we all have the potential to be that perpetrator.
We are humans, and in of itself, accepting our human unconscious level, accepting that that suffering drives the awakening. And that's the lesson to learn here is, seeing that suffering is optional, and where can I learn from this and grow from this?
Yeah.
And rising above the collective unconsciousness. I think that might be a thing as I say that out loud, but
because we all have the potential to create that. We also, that creates a level of understanding, I think, that takes some of that blame away.
Right. That level playing field you were talking about, where am I? And it's taking responsibility.
Yes.
And that's so much is and it's being able, somewhere I was reading about the ability to have empathy for others, and how that's really the superpower in all of this is being able to see where I could have done that too. Or where I could, I can see where they would have done that. And and being empathetic in that moment and rising above and choosing again, if we use our road analogies, that, choosing your path, what road you want to be on with intention, which is so much again about regardless of what do I want to say, what script we're following here. If we're talking about the model, if we're talking about the Bible, like I was telling Sonya when we were pre-gaming a little bit, I was like, can I talk about Jesus? Forgive them, for they know not what they do, on the cross. And that is that when you're in the moments, when you are in your unconscious self, or you're doing the best you can in that moment, and your humanness form and your human form, who among us could not have done the same thing?
Yeah. And that what started that conversation is I had talked to my husband this morning and said, we're podcasting on forgiveness. And he was like, forgiveness is very different when whatever happened to you, that pain point happened in the past versus if it's ongoing now. And that's when you brought up the quote, forgive them for they know not what they do. That was Jesus in his moment on the cross, in the middle of that pain. And that is, and my husband's right. It is more difficult. It's easier to look back in the past. Sometimes, I guess it depends again on what the
Time
cause
passage
is. Yes. But then if someone is actively doing this, but again, it's not for them. Ultimately, it's not for them. So it doesn't matter if it's going on now, if it went on 50 years ago, if it went on yesterday, whatever. What matters is seeing humanity, seeing them as humans, understanding your own humanness, and understanding that you would rather grow than to hang on to it. Now, none of this is easy. It sounds easy to say all these words. We are not saying that it's an easy thing to do.
But it's not, but we could make it easy, right? Depending on how,
Yes,
how important it is to you, if the willingness, that's a huge component of forgiveness, is that ability to be willing to make the change and show up in a capacity to know that you are gifting yourself, that the reward is sweet.
Yeah.
It is sweet that you are releasing yourself from suffering.
Yeah. Yeah. Since we're doing so much quoting today, I have to bring up my Oprah quote because I love this as far as, we've looked at why people are attached to not forgiving. But ultimately, when you get to the neutrality of the circumstance, she says, forgiveness is giving up the hope that the past could be any different.
Yeah.
And I love that, because why talk about energy wasting? Why would you hope that the past could be any different? That is energy wasted right there.
I just don't, how many, I think about depressed clients.
Yes.
And that energy, and then they're going back to the past and just recircling and revisiting, and the brain just so much energy going to the past. And it's just, and I have been there myself. I mean, I don't,
we all have,
right. I am human, but to witness it for another person it's just
painful.
It is so, humbling is the word I want to come up with too, and painful, but that wanting to go back and put your energy, if you had 100 bits of energy, do you want to put them in the past where you have zero control, or do you want to keep that energy in the future or in the present moment with you, where you can exactly which way? And I love the like thinking about water, directional water. Which way do you want to direct this flow of energy? You want to direct it all back to the past, let it run behind your garden, behind your house, downstream, where, shit gets washed away downstream? Or do you want to channel it right now in the moment? Let's get that energy right here. Let's grow.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't think of any better way to say it than that. Because yes, we've all hoped that the past could be different, but none of us have changed it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So all we can do is change the direction going forward. And that's another thing with Tole. He talks about, I think you said that was the end of the karmic cycle. Once you take responsibility, once you accept that this is the end of this, I'm not going to keep replaying it in my mind. I'm not going to hold on to that transgression, whatever it was. I'm going to let it go. That ends that cycle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because
you're emotionally stepping off. I'm done with this. I'm not expending my energy. I'm no more in the reactionary mode.
Yes.
I'm choosing with intent to release.
Move forward. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Me too. Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else?
Scan through my notes here. I talked about willingness. Did it mean, the willingness to shift energy to being willing to try?
Yeah.
And sometimes it could be, saying something, being at a state of a willingness to just place it outside and release that energy outside of you. If it's God, if it's the higher self, whoever it is, that your willingness to ask for help to release this from you.
Yeah, because like we said, we are not saying that this is something that it's like losing weight. Losing weight is easy. All you do is put less food in your mouth. But it's all of the mind stuff that, that keeps us the buffering. So it's the same with forgiveness. The process itself is very easy. It's very simple. Right. We just have to decide to let go of all of the stuff in our mind, all of the energy, like you said, and ultimately ask the question. I love this question. What will it cost? What will it cost me to keep holding on to this? And if you like your answer to that question, then by all means, keep holding on to it.
You like cancer? But if you had a choice, you want cancer and you could choose not to have it, I think we would all be choosing, not to have it.
Yeah. So the price is always more than it's worth. It just is. Our growth is too important.
In spirit of me always having a definition, as I'm glancing down at my notes here, forgiveness, from the Latin root, to give completely without reservation, giving the gift to yourself. There you go.
To yourself. Yeah.
To yourself. 100%.
Yeah. And to all of those around you at the same time, even though they may not know why they're receiving that gift. And that's the best of all, isn't it?
Right. And because it comes back to it again, what is the best way to control what is in your control and to take self-responsibility for your actions.
Yeah. All right, folks. If you're looking for somebody to help coach you on your forgiveness journey, I mean, it is something that often is better when you have someone to talk to, when you have someone to coach you through it. Those moments like you were talking about with your client earlier this week, those are places it's sometimes difficult to go alone because you don't even know what you're looking for. You don't even realize that pain point is hiding there.
And she's a coach. And it was a profound moment for both of us
Yeah.
to have her acknowledge, I never know when I come what I'm going to get, and I would never have gotten here by myself. I mean, those words were said to me, and
Yeah.
it's a humbling experience.
It is. It's makes it worth getting up every day. I will tell you that. So if you're looking for a coach, you can find more about me at sonyagreencoaching.com.
And I am a coach with the No BS weight loss program with Corinne Crabtree. But if you would like to follow me on the Instagram, I am Just Judy. That's JustJudie on Instagram.
And I always forget. So I have to come back around. I am at Sonya, SONYA _green coaching. So please follow us. Check us out. We would be honored to be your coach.
Absolutely.
Either of us would. Also, if you enjoy this podcast as much as we do, then we would ask you to help us to, I think, make more people aware of it. And you can do that in two ways. First, by sharing it. Share an episode. There's a little button down there. If you're on the iTunes, I know there is. You can just share an episode with somebody who needs it or who would benefit from it in some way. The other way is to give us a review.
Yes, we love reading the reviews. That makes me very happy.
Which is not why you should do it.
No, but
it has the added benefit.
Right. We don't know. Like when I start coming across like clients and people who are listening, it's my worlds collide, because so much of this started out with me. I'm telling my story here that well, nobody's going to listen to this. I get to practice my showing up and speaking and not feeling anxious. And so now it's just nice to know, to see the comments, and just kind of, I don't know, I feels pretty amazing. So thank you.
It's funny because being a coach, that human brains are human brains, and our brains are just like everybody else's brain. But it's also, I think it reinforces that fact. Oh, okay. We are just like other people.
Oh my gosh. We are.
Yeah.
Promise.
We are. We just have microphones.
And super knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Super knowledgeable. I will.
All right. Well, thank you all. And we will be back again next week.
Bye.